welcome back to Alterminds. We're here today going to talk about some interesting, titillating subjects. Titillating?
You had to go
Titillating.
there, didn't you? With that
Titillating.
word. I,
Titillating.
yeah. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to work on my eyebrow movements to try to get like more expression in my eyebrows. And
My
then
niece does that.
my smile, does she?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're on, we'll go back and forth on, every now and again when she feels up to being on video with family. So,
Mm.
yeah, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Your face shape is changing. That's it. It's awesome, but I think like that's the thing. Like she's trying out to see like what facial
Yeah,
emotions look like
yeah.
because we don't that doesn't come naturally
Doesn't
to
come
us.
naturally. I
Yeah.
and telling people that I practice smiling, I practice facial expressions and walking. Walking was a
Yeah.
big one that I had to practice
Well,
because
because
I
most of us walk on our toes and things
yeah,
like that. We do all the things that are viewed as being weird, and it's like, no, it just feels good. But
just feels
apparently it's
good.
wrong, so
Oh,
I have to relearn a new thing. Yeah. No, I get that. Get that a lot.
oh,
I
okay.
I try out like clothes and things like that, like different fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the store and you're like you like the look of this really cute thing and then you touch it and you're like,
You're like,
no
eh.
freaking no way.
No.
It's like microfiber, the worst fabric I think ever known to man.
I used to
Ugh.
hate when I was growing up velvet, the feeling of velvet.
Oh yeah.
Velour, velour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that one. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like the feeling of bamboo socks. They're the only socks that I can wear when I
I don't
can
think
bear to
I've
wear
I
socks.
don't think I've ever tried bamboo socks.
I feel like if you try them, you never go
You
back.
never go back. Yeah, I like
You
wool
can't wear
socks.
anything else.
I'm a big wool fan, but I know that that's not for everybody either because it's itchy.
No.
But
Yeah.
I like wool.
Yeah.
I like it because it
Anyway.
keeps me warm.
Yeah, and I like wool socks on the outside. I can
Mm,
wear, but I need my bamboo socks on the
on the
inside. If I
inside.
have to wear socks,
Yeah.
which I hate with a passion, but I'm diabetic and I need to protect my
Yeah.
feet. So every now and again, like this week, twice I wore socks. I can count them on one hand. I wore socks and they were both times bamboo socks because that was all I could tolerate.
Yeah.
Speaking of sensory, ouch.
Mm.
How are you doing?
Oh,
'Cause
this
yeah,
it's just been hard, right? This like
yeah, it's awful.
the last week, or 2 weeks since we filmed, but the last week, I don't
Mm,
know. I've been more like just tired, down,
yeah,
feeling
get that.
heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is like I was telling you earlier, we so I can't watch the news anymore. It's too much. Like I'll touch base just to make sure that the world's
Yeah,
not
you
completely falling apart. Like I need to
staying
know if I need to escape my
informed.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
staying informed so that
Yeah.
you don't miss out on, the
Yeah, but
apocalypse or anything.
yeah, really. Like I'll skim the headlines
Mm,
to see if there's something I need to read, like one of my healthcare initiatives or something like
mm,
that. Like when Dr. Parfrey took over as CEO, I read that article. But
hmm.
I'm really, really, really limiting what that all looks like for me right now. Um, because all of it is just it's so heavy. It's more than adding to the to-do list. It's like every single time I look on the news and there's the talk about tariffs and how much things are going to cost
Oh, and
and I
we're already struggling. We're already struggling
yeah,
so much. I don't.
but like we had to replace my husband's monitor,
Mhm.
and so for disability reasons, like he was just having significant eye strain and everything like that. And so, yay for me, I got to inherit something that now puts the TV in front of my face and I don't have to, I'm straining less to see
Mhm.
words and vision and stuff like that, like, things on a monitor and whatever. But it came at a really significant cost because it meant that we had to buy the thing that we really couldn't afford to do now because otherwise it's going to be another $200 just because of shipping fees and the stupid tariff calculation,
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. I didn't even think about that.
And that was the thing. So we had to order it now, even though we absolutely couldn't afford it. And we're at like survival food, like Mr. Noodles is the only thing that's left in the house because that's
Yeah,
what it is. And
yeah.
I'm struggling to eat that because I can't hold a freaking fork. So
So it's been a bad
yeah,
time, is what you're
it
saying. It's
really,
been a
oh
bad
yeah.
time.
Yeah, so I mean, like everything just feels so heavy, and I look
Hmm.
around and everybody else seems to be feeling the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just this like collective heavy. So my worker and I, we've put a bit of a moratorium on like, heavy in the house
Hmm.
on TV and stuff like that. So we're watching Star Trek, the Chris Pine series, because I dearly love Simon Pegg.
Hmm.
He's just so funny to me. And so I know all the girls are all like, "Oh, Chris Pine, oh, blue eyes." I'm a Simon Pegg girl all the way. That's it. And something about Zachary Quinto as Spock. Like Spock was always like my
I
go-to.
like Spock. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah,
He's my favorite character.
definitely that. And we're watching Gilligan's Island as an alternative every now and again when we need something funny to
That's a
do, but
good
short term.
alternative.
Yeah. And we're also watching Pinky and the Brain, but I'm also drawing strong
Brain,
parallels
brain, brain,
between
brain,
Trump
brain.
and Musk
Oh
for Pinky and the
yeah.
Brain. And there's a bit of a
Yes.
debate in the House, like who
Which
would be,
one's who? Which
yeah,
one's
which one
which?
would be which? Yeah.
Because I don't know if either of them have
I feel
great
like we're insulting
intellectual
the mice.
well, yeah, I don't think either of them have great intellectual capacities or anything. I think that they fake that. They fake the intellectual capacities so that they don't look bad, but
I did happen to hear again, like I play the news, but to skim the headlines to make sure the
mhm.
world's not falling apart. And
Yeah.
so there was a DEI perspective local.
Hmm.
Laura Bell, I think is her name. I can't remember. Anyway, she's a popular DEI person from around here.
Hmm.
And they're black uh they're a black person, but it was something as a like a trigger word, not trigger bad, trigger as in like trigger in my brain to tell me exactly what this person does and all that. So that's what I mean by trigger word that way. Uh um anyway, I can't remember what it is. Anyway,
That's okay.
their point of view is that, like DEI tends to come down to just representing the black narrative now for
Yeah.
whatever reason. And I mean, and I
Yeah.
don't know because like I look at it from a disabled perspective and critical disability and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? So I mean, I'm going to have a different swing on that, not in necessarily in the wrong way. It's just I don't see what other people necessarily see because I'm not in those communities all the
Hmm.
time, right? Or definitely not enough. So I try and listen more when the opportunity comes. So like it did this morning. Anyway, and they were talking about how like every single community has been nixed by these two guys in particular.
Yeah.
And you're more in touch, I think, with more of what's on the go in the news and things like that than I am right
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
Has has have they got anybody, who a person of color or like anybody in
No, they're
office?
deeply racist. No, they're
Okay, so
like
it's all
deeply.
just old white
I
guys.
think. Well, I know. So
That's what
far,
it feels like.
so far I've seen a lot of white guys. Elon Musk just there's this like group that he's put together that's white guys, but they're young. They're in their like 18, 20, 22, which is weird.
Okay.
Um, like it looks like he got a bunch of incels together and was
Yeah.
like, let's put these guys in charge of stuff. Um, but for me, what I see and what I've heard is
Yeah.
that people are using DEI and woke and these words to just mean black. So it just
Yeah.
so instead of being blatantly racist, instead of saying like we don't want black people working for us anymore, they'll just say we don't want DEI hires. But
Uh-huh.
that seems to mean black to the white people and that seems to be who they're
So messed
targeting.
up though. I don't get that at all.
It's super racist. It's very similar to early Hitler era days where Hitler went in and he fired a bunch, like made people,
Yeah.
so people who work for the feds got
Yeah.
fired, and burning books and burning information. So like the Donald Trump is like wiping out full internet access for things like it's trans and gender and
Yeah.
sexuality and stuff like that. So that
I
all
heard
those
that
types of
Gemma
things.
Hickey actually had trouble entering into the States.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I forget exactly what the language was that was used, but it was super offensive.
Yeah.
Not just in like, bloody wake up, do you have any clue of the words you're saying? Because clearly if you thought about it, you wouldn't. Not
Hmm.
now, like in this day and age. Like you would think that, I don't know, I just like to think that we've progressed a bit more,
We haven't though. I
you
don't
know?
think we have. I don't, I think what has happened is that people, especially white people, have gotten better at hiding their true opinions. So like they won't come out and say I hate this type of person. They shouldn't be allowed to work, or they shouldn't be allowed. They won't come out and say that, but they'll, in a roundabout way,
Yeah.
still support policies and policymakers and people like, say, PP, Pierre
Yeah.
Pollier. So they'll support people like him, even though he votes
I
against
don't get it.
everything that could help workers and help families and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
if you look at what, that's the thing that people have to do, is they have to go online and they have to look at who they want to vote for and what are they voting for in the House. So like
Yeah.
what are they saying yay or nay to in the
Yep.
House? And then you can see where that person's
And not
moral
just recent stuff.
compass
Like you
is.
got to dig.
No, yeah, and I mean, and it's not hard to find. Like, I think it was, I looked up, it was either school lunches or school breakfast program. I think it was lunches. It was free food anyway
Okay.
for kids in school. And
Yeah.
Pierre voted against it. PP voted against it. So
Why?
to
What was his
me,
reasoning? Did
I
he
don't know. It's just,
specify?
yeah, it just says yay or nay. So it just says if they
Okay.
voted for it or if they didn't. I don't know.
Oh
He
yeah,
probably
I
had a
remember
reason.
seeing that space. So yeah,
If you go through the transcription or whatever of the meeting session, whatever they call them,
yeah,
I'm sure it has there. He might have said, but votes against a lot of things that I'm like, this is stuff that would help families. This is stuff that would help everyday people. And then I don't find the liberals much better because they vote against a lot of stuff too that I think would help
that's the thing.
everyday
Like I'm
people.
really worried. Like
It's like we
if
have shit or
Freeland gets
shittier.
in, yeah, if Freeland gets in, like she already specifically made a point of saying, well, for the disability community anyway,
Mm.
you're fine with just getting an extra $200 per month,
Yeah.
and maybe the provinces will help you out. We'd like them to, but there's no obligation. But
Yeah.
you're good with an extra $200 a month. I mean, $200 a month, man, you can't even buy a candy in a candy house anymore for that.
No. And
You know?
it goes back to that we need universal basic income and we know that that
Yeah.
works. So we know through research there's locations that have already done universal basic income and it
Yeah.
works, and we see that it works and it costs less money than our current social service system that we
Like I feel
have.
like the work has just been done for so much for
Yeah.
so long.
Yes.
Why are we still even talking about
Yes.
this? Like why hasn't something
Well, people
happened?
are divided.
I don't
Like
get it.
people are so divided against silly things. Like when you get people hating each other over race and gender and sexuality, when you get people caring about who's banging who, essentially, instead
Oh
of
God.
do we
It
have
just
our
sounds
needs
like way
met?
too much ego.
It's a lot. It's so egocentric. It's so individualistic. It's so like,
Yeah.
well, my needs are met. So because when you think about it, right now the middle class, their needs are met. So
Well,
I
great.
don't
I'm
think,
so glad that they've had the representation that they needed, but what about
yeah,
everybody
I
else?
don't think that they walk around with that heaviness. Like when
Yeah.
when we're hearing about what's happening in America with the DEI situation, A for accessibility, when we
Yeah.
see what's happening, we all get super terrified because we're like, that's our
Yeah.
lives, that's our jobs, that's
Yep. That's
like
our everyday.
I need that DIA higher. I need that because
Yeah.
that's me. I'm that higher. I'm the higher, I have the disability
Yeah.
that
And you have,
um
like, as a Canadian citizen, we have the right to be able to live in safe, secure
yeah.
housing and to be able to go to work and know that we're going to be supported in our workplace and be able to go home and pay our bills and
But
be family members and stuff like that. It doesn't make any sense.
if you're able bodied and
Yeah.
you're middle class, you don't feel the pressure like everybody else is feeling the
Yeah.
pressure right now, right? Because you're still represented. You're
Oh,
still
yeah.
represented, and
Yeah.
you still have, and they don't see the racism in it at all. Like it's very hard for, I find it hard anyway to talk to other white people about racism. I
Yeah.
find it,
Because
well,
I,
it's, I don't think they understand what racism is.
I
And
think there's a lot of that like internalized
systemic
still. Yeah.
racism.
And I think, okay, so one of my favorite movies is The Ghost in the Darkness.
I've never seen that.
So yeah, okay, so it's about two lions in Tsavo in Kenya,
Hmm.
and how they were deemed as man eaters,
Okay.
right? So, and this is 1890, something like that. Anyway, or maybe it's our,
1890.
yeah,
Like
time frame.
1800s?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it's
Okay.
back when they were building the railroads, and I
Okay.
love anything to do with railroads. Give me a train, I'll spend all day on the train.
Hmm.
Just let me live there. But yeah, so they were building the railroads, and of course, the way the railroads have been built across the world have been built on the backs of those most vulnerable.
Yeah.
So those most in need of work, that they would do anything, for food, to make sure their family was secure or whatever, regardless of the heavy costs, including their life,
Hmm.
that people would pay. So it's a story basically of the guy who was the chief architect of this railroad. That's, to build a bridge. He was hired by the owner of the railroad that they're trying to push through, and they were trying to beat other countries, I think the Dutch and the French, at the
Hmm.
same time, to get the railroad built, because whoever
Okay.
built the railroad owned the resources, right? Like that's
Yeah.
basically it. So it was the story of this of the architect who had been hired to build the bridge, and along comes the man eaters, and everybody runs away. All the workers are like, "Nope, I'm leaving. We're done," because you need to get rid of the lions, otherwise,
Yeah.
no, So anyway, so
Fair enough.
oh yeah, fair enough. I'd run from a lion too, for sure. So yeah, and it's just the story of like how they managed to catch the lions and all that.
Mm.
So it's just really built around that really small time point, which was actually more like 6 months kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the lions themselves, like they, one of the lions, it's thought that he had a dental problem, because normally lions don't hunt down humans. They
Mm.
go for easy prey. And humans tend not to be as easy as, say, a zebra,
Hmm.
right? That kind of thing. So, but the fact that they had started to, in theory, hunt humans was very strange.
Hmm.
And so anyway, there these two lions are still apparently on display in Chicago at the museum. and
Hmm.
and it's like as for one of the forever things. But the lions themselves, actually, they're much smaller than they were, because for like 25 years they lay on the architect's floor as rugs.
Oh, so he
Endured
killed
massive wear and
them.
tear. He did kill them in the end, yeah, for sure. But I mean, there's a lot of speculation about why this even happened. But again, it's the use of the human factor to do the thing when somebody else thinks they're better. Like the fact that the Brits thought that it was okay to go in and force the Indian population, force the African population to build a railroad. Like,
Mm.
dude, if you want the railroad, bring your own workforce. If
No.
that's, like back in the day, that was the thing, right? And I mean, we do that still now.
Yeah.
We're you just look at how resources were built in Labrador. Like the Newfoundland Labrador government and the Canadian government just sent everybody in and said, "Here, go build me a big freaking
Yeah.
dam and stuff." But they didn't bother to ask anybody who would live downriver from
Mm.
this dam how they would be affected and what they thought about it or anything like that. They just said, "Well, we want the money and we want the resources. We're going to do it."
I
So it's
think,
ego. It's politics and ego.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's greed. It's a lot of greed. Well, I know with the immigration, so like one of the biggest things that again should be super scary to people, and more people should really care, but this was really difficult to get people to care when it doesn't affect
Yeah.
them. But the immigration policies that Trump has put down now are harming, they're going to harm millions of people,
Yeah.
to be deported. And then that also affects those workplaces. So farms have people who like usually hire undocumented workers. A
Yeah.
lot of farms do. So then there's people who couldn't show up to work on the farm because they were deported, and now
Mm.
farms aren't able to do their work because, they don't have the employees to do it, because a lot of people hire undocumented workers because they're
Yeah.
cheaper than documented workers. And
They don't
now
have to pay the
and
benefits or
and
anything like that.
and
Yeah.
having an immigration policy that deports all these people and not having anything to fall back on, who's going to do all that work that no one else, especially the middle class,
Yeah.
white middle class folks, they don't want to do it. They don't want to pick berries.
No.
I've never seen a white person pick a berry in my life,
No.
honestly. I've
I
never seen them do any
Okay,
sort
I
of
have picked
hard.
blueberries, but that's not the same as picking them
That's
for
not,
life,
and
for
that's not the
work in the
same as
farm and
employment. Yeah. So
yeah.
these hard labor jobs,
Yeah.
a lot of middle class people don't want them. So I don't
No,
know
because
who's going to do them.
they I find it's very different here. Yeah, my worker and I actually we were talking the other day. Like he has another job in a bakery,
Mhm.
and so he was talking about how a lot of the other people that he works with, they're not fussing on sanitation and things like that. And I said, well, I think a lot of it is that the way um, workers here feel about that type of stuff is very different than
What do
somebody
you
who comes from
mean?
elsewhere.
What do you mean about sanitation? Like they don't wash their hands?
No, 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 not sanitation that way. I mean, like, as in, it's a food place, right? So, I mean, the
Yeah.
whole idea of cleaning the machinery and things
Yeah.
like that you have to do on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
So, they're not enthusiastic about it. It's like, oh God, I got to do this thing again. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, it's important to do this stuff. It's important to do it on a regular basis and all that. But the people who are local by birth
Mhm.
here, not necessarily not a person of color, because we have lots of people who are people of color that
Yeah.
are born here,
Yeah.
right? So that's not a fair statement at all to say. But people who are Canadian as a start, I guess
Mhm.
you can say like
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's yeah. Um, the our viewpoint is almost like we're too entitled to do this type of work.
Yep. Yep. That the work is below them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's what it feels like, and that's what I said to him. I was like, to me, that's my experience with it. I don't know how real it is or anything.
Is
I
that
just,
Darrow who has
yeah,
that job? Okay, because I
yeah,
was gonna say there's like a pretty big I don't know what you'd call
immigration
it.
base.
No. There's a pretty big belief
Yeah.
that white people are unhygienic.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, and I see it
I know
because
the Japanese apparently think that of us, but that's because they're
yes,
like ultra clean, and I wish, man, I
no,
had that
because
capacity.
on
I want a bidet in my house. I really do.
me too.
Yeah.
Online, white people will go online and talk about how they don't use washcloths and
Huh?
like they don't wash their feet. And I've seen videos of white
Huh.
men talk about how they don't wash their bums. They don't
Ew.
wash their,
But
yes,
why?
they just let the water drip down. I've seen multiple videos of men just talking about how they just let the water drip down their booties and they don't
That's
actually
not
wash.
cleaning.
That's what I mean. So then I get the videos that I was seeing is like black people reacting to white people who don't wash, and black
Yeah.
people are like shocked by it.
Yeah.
So I think we might have,
I know there's definitely a different perspective,
yeah, I think,
but again, as a person who now, I mean, I've confirmed late autistic.
mm,
And so my learning method I know is different now than lots of others. Like when you're growing up, kind of thing, the thought is you pay attention to your guardians, whether
mm,
it's parents, grandparents, or whatever, and you ask questions about the things that they're
yeah,
doing. So you learn how to cook by observing and stuff like
uh,
that. I never learned like that.
me neither.
That's I
We
don't think
have
that that's
to,
something that's inherent
we have
to
to
our brain.
we have to explicitly learn, like be
Yeah.
taught.
Yep.
Yeah,
Somebody has to specifically say, Angie, come on, come over here, and we're gonna
yeah,
learn how to do this task together.
yeah.
You know, the assumption is though, if the kids in the room, they're learning by osmosis, and
I
I don't think that's a fair
And for
thing.
anyone listening who has
Yeah.
kids, for anyone listening, especially if you have neurodivergent kids, you should
Yeah.
explicitly teach them things.
Oh
Like
God, yes.
I've been trying to do that with my son. So like just last night or the night before that, we did a load of laundry. So I was
Yeah.
explicitly teaching him. I was like, this is the bin that we carry the laundry in. This is the bin
Yeah.
that we put the laundry in, and then we put it in the washer. You have to put the lid up and all. So I was teaching them,
Yeah.
trying to teach them step by step, like what we
And as a
do.
neurodivergent parent, you had to remind yourself most likely to do that. Right?
I did, and every time,
Steps.
yes,
Like,
and I don't even think about it to teach him either. And then I have to remind myself, no, he has to be explicitly taught these things, just like I
yeah.
have to be explicitly taught these things.
Yep. Yep. It's funny
Yeah.
how like all of this stuff works. But I mean, I like learning that I'm different at an older age. And that's not saying that we shouldn't be pursuing, confirmations and diagnoses and things like this
No,
at a younger
no.
age. It's just, I because I guess I look at it differently. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, cool. I get to use this as an experience, as a way of educating others around me that, like, okay, this is how I was, the presentation of what I was supposed to have done, and it didn't work, and now I know why.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I'm enjoying that learning process, but I also recognize that I have a bit more freedom to do that because I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
I don't have a daily job that I have to organize myself around. I just have to organize myself around my disabilities and stuff, which is, in a way, a
So,
full-time job,
yeah, it's a full-time
right?
job. I
But
look
I
at,
get more
yeah,
freedom of how I get to do that.
I look at both of us. We live different lives, but we can relate to a lot of things because
Yeah,
we both do have those jobs
yeah,
where it is a full-time job to be disabled. It is a full-time job to be a parent, well, especially a single
absolutely.
parent. Um,
And I mean, and that's like when we go back to the DEI perspective, I mean, that's
mm.
another reason of why those things are so important, because it means that we get to go back to the workplace
Yeah, but
and do it in a way that actually works. I
how
mean,
shitty is the workplace if it doesn't have accessibility in mind? Because that helps
yeah,
everybody. That helps people who don't have
exactly.
disability. So, like, how shitty is the workplace going to be when your workplace doesn't hire anybody who's disabled or anybody who's black or brown or whatever?
You don't
You
get
don't
different
hire, you don't,
perspectives or
no.
anything.
And you get
It's
treated
all,
like, you're going to get treated like shit because they're going to
yep.
expect you to be this, like, so entitled
Oh,
to
I
the
already
worker,
am. I
right?
already like, I mean, okay, so we had a social worker, they're a former social worker of ours, but their perspective of a disabled person, like I've made a point blank saying, like, look, you don't have to ask permission to go outside of your house from like 4 different people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to make arrangements or anything like that. If you want to go do groceries, you just get in your car and go.
Yeah.
You don't have to arrange around all these things. And that's not fair,
No.
right? Like, I mean, that's not quality of life. That's not anything. Why do you get more freedom than I do? And their response was, well, because you're disabled, you need extra. And I'm like, oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
messed up. That's
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really messed up. And I mean, to me, if you're a social worker and you're part of the community support program and stuff like that, that's not the job for that person,
No.
because they clearly have no idea about anything to do with like Maslow's laws or anything like that, or even just basic dignity for anybody who's different.
Yep.
Like, to me, that just, it was like, it wasn't just offensive. It was like, it was also a combination of like, okay, Missy, who the hell do you think you
Yeah.
are?
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, Not trying to be cheeky or anything like that. It was just kind of like, what makes you so bloody special? Why do you get to have freedoms that other people don't get to have?
Yeah.
Just
And they
because there's,
say because they have a disability that they don't get to
so
have those
what?
freedoms.
So what? Who cares? Any of us can become disabled at any given point in time,
Mm-hmm.
including herself, you
Well,
know?
yeah,
Be-
most people will become disabled as we grow older. Most of us
yeah.
will
So I mean, is
will
that how they really going to be a very receptive to the same type of treatment that they were feeding me? Probably not.
Oh man, people would be shocked. People would sometimes I just wish that we could swap lives with people just for like a day.
Yeah.
People wouldn't be able to live your life. They
No, I
wouldn't
know. I want
they wouldn't
politicians to come in here and start taking turns with this
they
shit.
wouldn't even remotely be able to deal with what you put out with. They wouldn't.
No.
The sheer stress of it all. They wouldn't be able to deal with it.
No, and that's the thing, like it's bunkers. And yet the funny thing that I think, and I think you mentioned this, it was you who mentioned this earlier the week. He, hearing the comments of like, oh well, we got to deal with this for 4 years. Man,
Yes,
the effects of this are going to be much
they're
longer than just the
everlasting.
next 4 years.
Kids are going to be reading about this in history books and asking, why didn't anyone do anything? Why did people just
Yeah,
sit around and let Mr.
this
Trump
happened.
deport millions of people,
Did we
millions
call
of
him Mister?
families? No, he's supposed to be President Trump, but I call him Mr.
No,
I
not
don't
even
want
that. He doesn't deserve the moniker of either president or Mister.
to. You're
I
not a
don't know.
Mister.
I heard somebody call him the orange buffoon the other day, and
The
I kind of like
orange
that one.
buffoon. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But I also want people to take him seriously though, and that he is dangerous. He's a dangerous
Yes.
person, and that we should be fighting fire. We should be fighting against
The danger is absolutely valid.
fascism, because this is fascism in the making, right? This is exactly how we get fascist
It's not
dictatorships.
a panic button. This is very real
Yeah, and I
with
want
long
people to
lasting,
feel
traumatic, and
that.
dramatic.
And it's not it's not just a 4 year
No.
presidency and then it's over. It's like they are ripping apart the foundations of the government in the United
Yeah.
States. So like there was a guy, I watched a video of a guy who works in that where the executive orders. So
Hmm.
his department deals with that or whatever. And he
Yeah.
was saying like, do you know what has DEIA all over it? Tax forms. And he's like, do you know what the season is? Tax season. So people aren't able to get access to the forms because they've had to wipe them off. Anything with
Yeah.
DEIA is being
Yeah.
wiped off the face of the planet.
Hmm.
So now people don't have access to the things that they need in order to do their taxes. So it causes a big fucking chaotic mess, right?
We've got people who can't even go to school anymore because they can't access the school
Yeah.
on a number
Oh.
of different levels. Like, I mean, if you're a person who has communication differences and you're in your class
Hmm.
and you require a note taker because you have to focus on, like, if you're like me and you have to focus on what's being said by
Yeah.
the teacher, so you need somebody to take your notes and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Elon's going to say, here, use my AI. It's a little, whatever. Well, okay. I'm a student. I'm poor as dirt. I can't afford your AI, Elon.
I
I'm
don't even think he would. I
sorry.
don't even think he would
If
say to use AI
if
for
that
that.
came up as a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do it this way.
Mm.
And then but they've completely, like, they talk about the merit factor. If you can't get to the education factor, how do you get merit?
Mm.
Like, they've blocked the pathway entirely. And then there's the whole make America great thing again. And now all of a sudden he's over in the Middle East now as well too, with people he can't stand. And he's
Yeah.
talking about making it the US Riviera? What the
Oh yeah.
hell?
And like
I don't get it.
Donald Trump just spoke openly about ethnically cleansing Palestine. That's what he's
Uh,
talking about. He's talking about flattening a place where people
that's
live. People can't.
genocide.
Yeah. He's talking about that. And he's saying that so far they've done a good job. So we've had at least 61,000 Palestinians have been murdered. That's at least. We don't know if that's the full amount, but they have been
Where is the
killed.
International Criminal Court for this?
They already, I think they already have a warrant out for Netanyahu's arrest, I think.
Yeah.
That's the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so the ICC, but Donald Trump, like the government, the United States government, is trying to question the ICC, the International Court,
He doesn't have
about
that right.
it's wild. And then the United Nations are like unable to do anything because the US keeps vetoing like all these because the US has veto power in the United Nations.
Because
So,
they're,
which like
yeah.
no one should have veto power because
No.
what's the fucking point? What is democracy if someone has veto power? If you all take a
Yeah.
vote, if you all take a vote and you all vote, well, most of you vote majority to do something or not do something, say. And then one person can go, oh, veto that. Actually, I don't want that to happen. What the fuck is the point of the voting system? What is the point of
Oh
even
my
having
God.
votes? And that's what the UN is. So we've,
Yeah.
over the last 15 months that we've been watching genocide unfold in Palestine, we've seen that all these groups that are supposed to be there to protect us and protect our human rights aren't able
Yeah.
to do anything. So, like, the UN is supposed to be someone who stops atrocities from happening, but they're not able to stop it. So, again, people should be more and more freaked out than they are. I think, like, especially the middle class should be more freaked out because they should see that, okay, if they're able to do this to Palestinians or anybody, because if you look at the Congo,
Yeah.
the
Oh God,
Congo
that
or
mess.
Sudan. Yeah, if you look at any of these places, there's genocides happening, but they're able to kill families
Mhm.
and it's nothing. And it means nothing. It doesn't matter. Like whole families killed and it means
Yeah.
nothing to the United States government. Now I'm going to get us on a list because I'm talking about the United States. We're going to be on like a no-fly list because I'm here talking about the United States government, but
But that's the thing, right? Like I think we're
it's just the
supposed to be
truth.
able to, yeah, and I mean, and guaranteed our phones and our tech and everything like that, they're listening.
They're certainly gonna find some interesting things on
Oh,
mine. Mine are always like
yeah.
anti-imperialism and
Well, and this is the thing, but I mean, I think
anti-capitalism.
it comes down to critical thought,
Ah,
right?
yes, that is
You
missing from
have
so
to
many
think.
things. So many things are missing critical thought.
Yeah, it's not about, like, hey, I don't like what you're doing, whatever. It's being able to sit down and go, okay, is this really beneficial for mankind?
Yes. And
Is
more
this
people should just sit
really,
there and like just ask themselves that question. Just ask yourself that question. Is
yeah,
this beneficial for everybody, for the human race
yeah.
as a
And
whole?
if I think it is, why?
Yes.
Like, is it just because, hey, I like the way it sounds,
Yeah.
you know,
Or I like what it does for
or,
me.
or
If it's just
yeah,
about you and your family, then that's really not enough. It needs to be about the whole human race.
yeah. What is this? Who said that line? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the
Oh
few, or
yeah. I
something
don't
like
know who
that.
said that, but it's a good quote to
Yeah.
remember.
Well,
We
again,
also
going back to
have
Star Trek and the second Star
let's go
Trek of
back
that series.
let's go
Yeah,
back to
he
Star
says that.
Trek. We have 15 minutes, so we need to switch gears, talk about something fun now because we've been
Yeah.
talking about things that are
Yes. Heavy.
heavy
Yeah.
topics.
We wanted
So,
to do. We wanted
yeah.
to
So
big stop button of Hardline.
you've been watching Star Trek, Gilligan Island, and Pinky and the
Hmm.
Brain, right?
Yep. Yep. They're my some of my go-to stuff. Like I also love the movie The Martian. I think if I actually had to count, my record for watching that movie is probably around like 900 times.
Wow, wow.
I just yeah,
That's impressive.
and it hasn't been out that long either. But that's like I've always been a Mars person,
Hmm.
and take this whatever way you want, Elon. I don't care. Uh, whatever. I I have always wanted. It wasn't about exploring space necessarily or
Or
whatever. It
colonizing it.
was yeah. It wasn't about any of that business. It was the learning.
Hmm.
That's it. Like to learn. I want to learn about the deep ocean though, as much as I want to learn about Mars.
Yes.
Right? Like that. That's all it
Deep
is for
space
me.
and deep ocean.
Yeah, like I'm still kind of fascinated by the fact that Chris Hadfield said that space smells like burnt steak. Well, I kind of like the smell of burnt steak. I'm
Yeah.
encouraged. I want to go check that
I
out.
want to know why it smells. I want to know what's
Oh
that
yeah,
smell.
yeah, for sure. Just different things. I think I don't know.
Would you
Another one.
would you go to space if you
Oh
could?
yeah,
You
yeah.
would?
I was brokenhearted when I found out that I couldn't apply for the Mars One project.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And of course, my husband was all offended. He was like, "You be leaving me." I'm like, "It's Mars.
It's Mars. Hello.
What do you want from me?
I'm
I'll talk to you."
gone. First
Yeah,
ticket. Let's go.
I will talk to you over the whatever, the space channels or something. We're good. Okay. Lots of other people have done it and survived. We'll be fine. He's like, "Yeah, but it's forever and you'd be leaving me." I'm like, "Well, there's the application process. Get to it, buddy.
You can
Come
apply
on."
too. Yeah, we'll both
Yeah.
go. Be a couples retreat.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, let's go. It's just an extended version. We're good.
I wouldn't go to
Really?
space. No.
Why?
I don't know. I wouldn't. It's
And
too
it's not like you should be doing it. Oh my God. It's like I'm curious as to
okay.
people
It's just
not
like
wanting it.
I it's an abyss to me. It's like a big abyss, and my
Yeah.
mind is like that. So like just a minute in my mind is like if that was what space is like, feels
Yeah.
like being even in a bigger mind than no. I'd be
Well,
too
see, I,
it would fuck me up is what I'm saying.
yeah.
I'm too introspective and I'm too in my head to be able to go into a big empty area where you just float around.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Like, I like the idea of meeting other species and stuff. I'm not of the assumption that they're all out to destroy another or whatever.
No, humans think
That's
that because
no.
humans are hostile for some fucking reason, but
Well, and
that's
we're very
only
egocentric,
yeah, like
you
it's
know?
not not every living thing is like us.
No, exactly. And I mean, I would love the opportunity to ask another species, like how, I don't know, if they make bread and how do they make it?
Yeah, what's your
You know?
favorite food?
Exactly.
What do you
Is it,
eat? Do they
yeah,
eat? They might not even eat. They might have photosynthesis or something.
exactly. Like to me, it's a learning process. I like all of
Yeah.
the interactions, but I'm like that here on Earth as well too. Like Dara and I sit down and we trade stories about like because he's clearly learning the new Canadian lifestyle and whatever,
Yeah.
but I'm also peppering him all the time about what's Nigeria like.
Yeah.
Because one of my biggest fears was, especially the older I got, was being a very isolated Canadian,
Mm.
right? Just seeing one page of a book, so to speak, if
Yes.
traveling is a book, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to just see one page. I wanted to learn about others, and so I take the opportunity to do that when I can.
Hmm.
Right? And I don't know, what's the difference between an alien in space and somebody who lives in a different country here? No difference, it's just
No.
geography. That's it.
Well, really, what you're talking about is you probably like the learning of culture. So
Yeah,
different cultures, right? Because space aliens would have different culture, and that would be cool to
yeah.
learn. It would be cool to learn about that.
Well, exactly. So I mean, I think that's why like current events are so horrifying to me because I'm like, that doesn't
Yes.
make any sense, right? Like not to
It's
delve
so
back into the heavy. It's
no,
just
but
I don't get it.
it's so illogical sometimes that it becomes like what the it's a big WTF.
Yeah,
It's a big
huge.
WTF. Like
Yeah,
the
like
whole
if
everything. I don't understand any of it.
no, like I don't see and I don't understand what to me seems like it would be a thrill somehow of treating other people badly, which is what
Yes.
they're doing.
That's yes. And they're getting their
So,
socks off
yeah,
by
is that
doing
what the
it.
kids are calling it these
I
days?
don't know. I just say that. I
Uh,
called it that when I was a kid. Speaking of
so
when I
what
was a kid, I liked Arthur.
that's
That
what I was
was
going to
my
ask you. What
yeah.
was your favorite growing up?
That was my favorite show, Arthur, and then I really liked Pokemon. I had a crush on Ash
I
Ketchum.
Oh, nice. I never understood like I didn't get into any of that stuff. I guess but my anime days are a little bit older. I was all about Astro Boy
Mm-hmm.
and the original Transformers and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I wanted to marry Optimus Prime if that ever became a thing. And I wanted to be Astro Boy. So, really illogical things, right? And I loved Marvin the Martian. So,
Yeah.
the whole idea of, a Martian blowing up Earth because things were weird to him. I kind of get that now.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the idea of blowing up Earth, but
But
like stuff not making sense.
yeah.
Yeah. What was it
I
about?
like Doctor Who now. Sorry, what was what about?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, what in particular was it that drew you to Arthur?
Arthur, I think it was like the family and community aspect of Arthur, like having lots of friends and everybody
I've
in the
never seen it,
community.
so tell me like I'm
Okay.
four.
Okay. So Arthur has a lot of friends.
Yeah?
He has good friends and they go to school together.
Hmm.
And then he has a good family
Okay.
and they have like good community living. So like the kids walk
Oh,
around by
nice.
themselves, right? So Arthur and his friends are by themselves a lot. They go to like the this ice cream parlor where Brain
Okay.
works. Brain is their smart friend. His name is Brain, and he's
Okay.
smart.
That's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. And I really like that. It's just wholesome. I think I watch it now just to
Okay. It didn't
relax.
make you feel bad.
Yeah, no, it made me feel good. It made me feel
Yeah.
warm and love and like yeah.
Nice.
And
What
that's
was
what
your
you need.
go-to Christmas show? Like most of us had a go-to Christmas show. What was
Christmas one,
yours? Yeah.
but it does have to be a show or can it be a movie?
Whatever, doesn't matter. What was your go-to thing that I guess, because most of us, like I say, I have something that, like, during the season we all like really love. My
Oh,
mom loved Home
Christmas.
Alone and
Mine
A
is
White
Christmas
Christmas.
Christmas Vacation because I love how
Yeah.
the main guy
Chevy
Griswold.
Chase.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
well, not the actor.
Yeah.
He's awful.
Yes.
But yeah, the guy he plays, his character Love is like wants to make the perfect Christmas, and I've always wanted to make the perfect Christmas, and then have all your family there, and it'd be like this perfect time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I relate a lot, but then everything goes wrong, so I
Oh
relate
God,
a
yeah, the
lot to that.
turkey. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when he opens up, it's just like.
Yeah.
I relate a lot to that because every time, like, my life just seems like a series of unfortunate events,
Oh God, not the
right?
lemony snicket, I hope.
Yeah, but that's what it
Really?
seems like. Yeah, it seems like
Oh.
after a while, like one thing after the other, and it seems like I can never really
Yeah.
get ahead of anything.
Hmm.
So I feel like that around Christmas time where like I really want it to be perfect, but
Yeah.
everything keeps going wrong.
I, for many years, I've kind of identified with the bird lady in Home Alone 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like the bird lady.
Just, yeah, I did really like
She's cool.
her anyway, but like I identified with the loneliness that she expressed,
Yes,
having
yes,
had a family and then lost family, and then her pigeons are her new family,
yes.
and then running into Kevin, but she knew all the cool places to go to experience the things that she wanted out of life,
Yeah.
without like being able to go to the opera, things like that. Just who needs to sit in the opera seats that you pay $1,000 for, that kind of crazy stuff. Uh, just she took simplicity to that next level,
Hmm.
and I liked the owner of Duncan's toy store.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I would love
Yeah.
to have a toy store. I love
Yeah.
kids. I would love to make kids happy like that.
Let me just play with the Legos. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, most kids, honestly, just play with the
Yeah.
Legos and they're good.
Yeah. Just I like things that it's not just about not making my brain work. I like things that make my brain work,
Hmm.
but I prefer things that don't make my brain hurt,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? Like, who wants to be going around all the time with their head all scrunched together trying to figure out basic concept of why would you hurt somebody?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Gilligan's Island is, for me, in that level, was just kind of like perfect timing when it came up on Tubi. I was like, oh, look at that. Because I'm trying to find things that I can watch that aren't going to cost a fortune.
Yeah.
Because I'm okay with them if they're free, so to speak. Like, I can stream it for free.
Hmm.
I do not want to pay an American subscription fee right now
No.
for anything,
No.
And I mean, I have a lot of American friends and whatnot. My sister has American family, but I don't want to support um the hierarchy.
No. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there's nothing I can do about Instacart. Unfortunately, I need Instacart
Yes.
accessibility access.
Yes.
I'm rotted that I may have to be paying extra prices yet again
For
that I
some.
already,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. So I mean, there's nothing I can do about a lot of that stuff, but there are things I can do about some of the other smaller stuff. So I'm going to use the smaller stuff to find the happy that I can. And I was just glad to find Gilligan's Island, I think.
Yeah. And
So
Pinky in
yay
the
for
Brain
that.
is good too.
Yes, that one comes off
In the
of Prime
brain,
for
brain,
me.
brain, brain, brain. Ah.
Do you have a nice? What was your favorite aside from Arthur?
Yeah.
If you couldn't have Arthur, what would you watch?
Can it be like an adult show?
Yeah, of course, it can be
Okay,
whatever you want.
it's The Office. The Office is one of my favorite. The U.S. Office is one of my all-time favorite shows. I rewatch it all the time.
I
And
watched a couple of episodes and then it didn't make a whole lot of sense to
it
me.
takes like the full first season for you to get into it, honestly. You got to watch the
Oh yeah?
full first season and go on to the second season and then
I
it'll
don't know
make
if I have the
sense.
patience. It has
No,
to grab me right off the bat, and if
I
it
know.
doesn't, I'm
But the
kind of
first
done.
season is kind of messy, and that's so right now I'm watching retrospectives of The Office to fall asleep
Okay.
at night. So
Yeah.
like one of the retrospectives talks about how like in the first season, they were trying to make Michael Scott, which is one of the main characters, really
Okay.
awful, like an awful boss.
Why?
And it didn't really work, so they
Oh,
changed it to make him more lovable after. So like
okay.
so they changed the episodes after the first season. But yeah,
Okay.
it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Okay.
I don't know why. I have no idea why, because when I first watched it, I was like,
What is this?
this is stupid. And then
Yeah.
I got like 12 episodes in and I was like, this is funny. And
Okay.
then I don't know, now I just love it. Now I could rewatch it all the time and I still
Okay.
love it. I still laugh just as hard. I might actually start watching it after this.
Nice. That's awesome. I used to watch the show called Are You Being Served?
Oh yeah,
As
yeah.
when I
I
was a
used to
kid.
watch
And
that.
I yeah, and I love it. Like you were talking about Doctor Who and stuff, right? So um
Doctor Who is
and
great.
now I'll watch anything that has Michael Sheen in it
Hmm.
and David Tennant.
Yeah, I
So
love
that's
David
why I
Tennant.
watched The Good Wife in particular, actually, and
Okay.
then the was the one that came after The Good Wife.
Mm.
Anyway, and Cush Jumbo was in it, and she bloody fantastic. I loved her. She was amazing. But Michael Sheen was also in it, and he just played this out there in like way out there in space kind of lawyer who just he would do fentanyl before court, you know, in
Wow.
lollipop version.
Wow. I mean, I
This
know
guy was
there are
different.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes there are hard days where I'm like, sometimes I wish I had something to just lick and
Take the edge off.
take the edge off. I would love that.
I don't know. Well, for me,
Not
that's
fentanyl though.
no, God, no. I I love scented coffee creamers.
There you go. It
Yeah,
takes the
like
edge off.
yeah, it does. For me, it does.
Yeah.
I was always a bit of a coffee freak anyway, but now I'm very like scent oriented.
Hmm.
I have no idea what that switch exactly was. There's a very special candle, the scent that I love. Um, there's just even if I can't light the sucker, I really love the scent of like the candle that I've got picked out, and I'm not gonna say it because I'm afraid people will go and go buy it and then I'll never get it
No,
again.
you're good.
So I'm not sharing. I ain't
That's
sharing.
it.
No, but I there's just certain things that I really take a lot of joy in, and my favorite scent is like hazelnut.
Hmm.
Hazelnut coffee creamer. I don't know why it's so, but it is.
Hmm.
And, you know, John and I made a pact. We're like, this house can never run out of coffee ever again because that happened a while ago. And it was, I was so mad at the work,
Yeah, of
mad at
course.
everything.
Of
And
course.
I don't think it had anything to do with coffee per se, and like, the addictive things that are in coffee and change your
Hmm.
brain and all that. As an ADHD person, I find coffee actually
Good.
relaxing in that
Yeah.
way. Yeah. But it's John calls it stinky coffee. So he doesn't
We're
like the smell of the stuff at all.
we're at time now. 2:30.
Oh, fucker. What's your glimmer? What's your happy?
What's my happy?
Yeah. Like, what are
Oh
you really
man.
using right now to cling to? Because, the rest of it is like, ugh,
My
what's
hopes
making you
and
happy?
my hopes and dreams of starting a commune. I really want to start a disability commune where people with disabilities can come and live.
Yeah.
I've been talking to a few people about it and
Nice.
trying to talk about how could this be possible? Can we make this a possibility? Wouldn't that be
Mm,
great though if we all had like we were just on a plot of land and we all had tiny homes, and then we had like a big kitchen and a big living room space to
yeah.
hang out.
Like, I, Darrow's not fussy on it because he grew up with his mom had a pile of animals, including goats and stuff, and he just did
I
not
lo-
take to those things at
I
all.
love that.
He doesn't take to it at all. So he's just, I think for him it was kind of like he's looking to be away from it. But
Hmm.
I would love to be able to actually garden,
Yes.
like the idea they say, oh, just grow your own food. Easier said than done, but
Way easier said than done.
if
Way easier.
I am having trouble holding a fork, how the hell am I pulling a carrot out of the soil, okay?
Yeah.
They're just be reasonable about the things you expect of other people. That's all. So yeah.
What about you? What's your glimmer?
Hazelnut coffee.
Hazelnut coffee, yeah.
Yeah. Hazelnut coffee, hugs.
And
I need a lot of
shows, and
hugs
our
right now.
shows that we can watch.
Yeah, and being able to still access that though, because I was in a really dark space a little while ago. Like, oh God, there's so much American TV. I'm not going to be able to watch it if I'm staying true to my to,
Yes. Your
and I'm
boycotts.
like, what am I going to do? How, because these are, when you're strapped to the bed and there's nothing else you can do because that's where your disability has placed you that day.
Hmm.
There's only so long you can spend counting, little spats and stuff on the ceiling before you do your head
Yeah.
in. So TV is a really big thing. You can't hold your phone, like the idea of, oh, just play on your mobile. I can't hold it, buddy.
Yeah.
Not as easy. So yeah, TV is a really big game changer for me, you know,
Hmm.
and it has been for a long time. I know that they say, oh, don't spend so much time in front of the
Oh
idiot
no,
box,
man. I love the
but you
idiot
can,
box.
yeah, like you can choose what you watch. It doesn't all have to be, whatever, any one thing that's not fun.
TV has always been a comfort for me,
Yeah.
always. So
On the topic of TV, did you hear that they're pulling funding for PBS and NPR in
I
the
know that
States?
Sesame Street is getting canceled.
Yeah, because PBS, they're yanking the funding for PBS and NPR.
And Sesame Street is the best.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, no, I mean, and my level of incredulity about the things that they're just stripping apart, like I just feel like uh, Mr. Rogers would be rolling in his grave right now.
He'd be so pissed.
It's, if it's possible for that man to be upset, it would be now.
All right, let's sign
Anyway,
off. Let's say
yes,
goodbye to our viewers. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to our podcast so you get updated when we have new episodes.
most definitely. Oh, we'll have some updates as well too. Probably we'll be able to chat about the gig that we're going to be doing with the University of
Hmm.
Windsor talking about
Yeah,
neurodiversity. So
maybe our
hopefully we'll just do
next.
our own version of spread the word.
Yeah. All right, and till next time.
Much love to everybody. Hope everybody's doing well.